So I am very much ready to ride the lightning with Elijah Witt. Seeing as behind me, I've got lightning. Behind you, you've got lightning. And they say heavy metal's cliched, Elijah. What the fuck?
Can you believe we're just matching? We're twins. We're
That's
cute,
it.
you know?
We just know what's going on. Elijah, how are you, mate?
I'm living the dream, man. I woke up at 7 a.m. this morning. I've done nothing for hours.
Yep, I feel that highly. Just trying to find things to get me through my day as well. But you do have a new single to discuss, which is very, very exciting. One of the things that's most exciting to me, Elijah, when it comes to all things Cane Hill, is you genuinely don't know what's coming next. Like, everyone likes to say that as a band. But
never gonna know what's coming next.
We don't know what genre's coming. We don't know. So we are back in heavier terrains at the moment. Is that reflective of where the world's at, where you're at? Like, how did we go from where we were on Kill the Sun to where we have been on these last 3 tracks?
I mean, okay, so so when we wrote Kill the Sun, we always had the intention for the next thing after it to be heavy. That's what we wanted when we were writing that soft EP, Soft Baby Boy EP. We were writing these songs kind of already.
Right.
The songs we wrote didn't make it; they were bad and garbage. So it's kind of always been a little bit of a plan. How we're doing it was never a part of the plan. Not having our old management or label on board wasn't part of the plan at the time. But I think what it came from and what made this music so good and so heavy, because it's heavier than we expected it to be, if we're honest, was that we lost our entire team right before COVID happened, and then COVID happened, and we were mad and angry and pissed off and high as shit, except James. James was sober, which probably helped him write angrier music, because I don't know if you've ever seen a pothead just be like, fuck it, weed's done for me. They're so mad all the time.
I can't imagine. Spending 3 years in California, I can't imagine putting it down. It just
doesn't make sense.
The amount of pent-up rage that would come from that would make sense that it would manifest itself into angrier music.
Yeah. You take the one thing that like levels you out and it's like, all right, everything's cool and chill, and then you take it out of your life abruptly and your brain's like, rage?
Yeah.
Just rage all the time.
So, I guess I want to talk to you about religion, because I'm sure everyone does when it comes to these things. Do you describe yourself as a religious man, Elijah?
A religious man. Here's a cliche response. A religious man, no, but am I spiritual? Yes. Right. But I'd say it's probably a no to both. I was raised a Christian as a little kid, but I always had, just like a side note, always had like chicken soup for the Jewish soul. For whatever reason, everything that I wanted to be was Jewish, but I was raised Christian.
Right.
And that's a much longer story. But so stopped believing in God, didn't realize it. Then I realized it. It was like, hot damn, I'm an atheist. And then I did a bunch of drugs. And I was like, wait, there might be something, right?
Yeah.
So I'd say borderline agnostic, but like a really pessimistic version of it, where like I think there are higher powers, but I think they're all fucking horrible.
No, Elijah, like, not to turn this into the Joe Rogan podcast, but what drugs?
So mostly a bunch of acid,
right.
Like LSD, the usual. DMT scares the shit out of me. I don't need an eternity or a lifetime inside of my own head. I've seen enough on the drugs that I've done myself. I took some like experimental psychedelics back in high school, like 2CE and 2CI, which were like a lab made hallucinogenics to kind of, I think probably kind of along the same lines as like synthetic weed, where the reaction's not very good. You don't have a good time, and what you do get kind of leaves you scarred. So that was great. But it was really the acid days that did it for me. We were doing, as a band, collectively, I think we were probably taking like at least a trip every other week. Most of the time it was a trip every week, which is just rots your brain.
Yeah. What was the effect of that at that period?
The effect of that was absolute chaos, man. Like none of us were okay. Like mentally, all of us in the sewer. There were times where like we would all go over. James, our guitarist, his house is where we did most of it because it's in the middle of nowhere. So there's woods, there's kind of silence and seclusion, but there's also like always chaos at his house because his mom's wild, crazy lady. I love her to death. And his dad's a trip too. And like we're just surrounded by like James and his family, and we're all on acid. And sometimes you just walk into a room and someone would be in the corner crying their eyes out. You'd walk into another room and somebody's walking in a circle, just on loop going, is this gonna stay like this forever? Pause. Is this gonna stay like this forever? Pause. Or like me, usually I just sat outside and I listened to this dog that was in the backyard. So it's weird. There's like a house in the backyard where someone lives and they had a dog and it was on a chain, and there's like this swing set that creaks back and forth. And I just listened to that swing set creak and that dog bark on a chain for like probably 3 hours at a time, and nothing else.
Do you think these settings help? Because the thing is, when you're talking about that shit, right? When you describe that, right? Fucking uninteresting art does not come out of that, right? I'm a music journalist. I have to listen to every band that comes through, right? So a lot of it is the heaviest. A lot of it is the heaviest, most melodic shit ever. If you're reading what I'm saying, right? Yeah. But an environment like that has to breed interest in art.
So there's that old adage that's like, good art doesn't come from like a mentally healthy person. That's not the classic way to say it. I know that there's a better way to say that. Probably something a little bit more poetic. But yeah, I genuinely believe that. I mean, let's use The Fray as an example. It's a weird example, but I think it works. So The Fray had so many hit singles that were all so dismally depressing. Every single song literally about wanting to die. And then they got married, and their lives were better because they had money from these singles, and now they write bad music. Metallica stopped drinking, and they make bad music. That's a subjective opinion.
Yeah, of course.
Let's not say Metallica makes bad music, but let's say it doesn't have the honesty that their earlier, angrier, we're poor music gave off. Like, we're drunk, angry, drugs, right?
Yeah.
I have a hard time naming any artists that I genuinely like that didn't have like really, really bad mental health. Maybe that's just my type, you know.
Do you think that's relation? Because I know that we're on dangerous ground here, right? But like, I kind of agree. Like, my inner being tells me that weirdos make the best art. My record collection tells me that weirdos make the best art. Like, where does Elijah Witt fit into that?
I'd like to believe that I make pretty good, honest art. I mean, like, so I would say that I'm happy, right? But I know that my mental health screams depression probably once every 4 hours.
Gotcha.
So that's why I try to, or I guess because I think we're all kind of in the same boat where like our lives aren't bad, but hot damn, are they not good? And we're depressed. That we write really good angry music and really good like kind of like self-loathing music. So I just when it comes to I like, not only does the artist have to be pained, in my opinion, to make good art, and that's a strong opinion, but I think art comes from pain, and I don't think that's a new idea. But I think that the art needs to come from and for people who feel that same pain. So if you're in pain and you're trying to write about a different kind of pain, it's not going to work, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. So like from like our old music to our new music, I've gone from extrospective to incredibly introspective because I don't think that I like storytelling that's disingenuous anymore. And I think I just got off a rabbit trail. I'm so lost in my own thoughts right now. Apologies.
No, I get where you're coming from. It's almost like you float so far away from the self while writing about other things that the return to the self is the most important thing, which is why I started with religion. You've got this song, God is the Enemy, right? And religion has been such a constant in your writing, your imagery. Like it's been, if you're looking for it, it's there. And there are two things that I believe, as a foreigner living in America, that you can't understand unless you've been on American soil. These things. One is law enforcement, and I'm not catching that hot potato. The other is religion. Religion in America is a different beast to how religion is in other areas of the world. Like, is that a fair statement? And is that why you're so fucking furious about religion, Elijah?
Yeah, and I think as an institution, I mean, it's mostly Christianity over here, but I think it's because Christianity is linked with our politics as much as politics tries to say it's not, and I think it's because the phobia that America has of other religions is a massive problem. But it's just it's ingrained. I mean, if you think about it, everybody that founded America came to America for religious freedom from y'all. That goddamn Church of England. I was raised Episcopalian, so I get it.
I choked on my water because I was so not expecting that. Yeah, you're right. You're totally right.
The freedom fight. But like, and for what it's worth, being raised Episcopalian, which is what essentially America's version of the Church of England, is the Church of England is far more forgiving than the other denominations of Christianity over here. But I mean, like, if you look at Southern Baptists, like, Catholics have some fucking toxic thoughts, right? Toxic things. What with the rings of pedophilia, and then some. But like, they just apologized about Galileo being right. Go figure. But Baptists and like the Southern evangelicals and that they all, there's no way to not make this political, because that's what it is it's been tied to politics, and mostly right-wing politics at that. But I mean, it's a plague on this earth and a blight I hate to look at, because it's the ignorance in this country when it comes to religion and when it comes to freedoms based on religion are all just excessively awful.
See, I've done jobs in like smaller towns, but most of the shit I do is fucking what you'd expect. New York, LA, big places. What's small town America? What's the difference between religion in somewhere like, I live in fucking Hollywood? Do you know what I mean? Like, what's the difference between religion here and religion in small town America?
I'd say religion in Hollywood's probably more theatric. And then, like, you know, I go to church. I assume everything in Hollywood is I do it to be seen. That's a fair point, I might add. I hate the place so much. I lived there for like a year, and it was my living nightmare.
What year did you live here, if you don't mind me asking?
Shit, I gotta remember. It was before we did a bunch of tours, so probably like 2014 or 2015.
Gotcha. Right.
I hated it. It was a nightmare. But the small town religion is like, it is your identity. It is who you are. I am Margaret, a Roman Catholic, and I am from Chalmette, Louisiana, for example.
Yeah.
Chalmette is the part of Louisiana that's mostly Catholic. In fact, Louisiana is a really Catholic state.
Yeah.
French. But like you go to where James lives. James lives in the middle of fucking nowhere, like I said. And Confederate flags everywhere. I mean, shit. Okay, look, I live in a suburb right outside of New Orleans. I don't know if you know about the American part of history called white flight, but it was when the white people left the cities because they were becoming urbanized after slavery was abolished. So freed black men and women were living in the cities to get good work. White people left because they said, I am racist. And the suburbs still are really, really racist. Like, right outside, New Orleans is a small liberal pocket inside of a much greater red state. So literally, you go 5 miles outside of the city where I am, and I can go 2 streets over to the main street, and there are people flying Confederate flags over the main street from their backyards.
Wild.
So it's huge.
Mm.
Super not Christ-like. That's my beef. Like, I don't hate religion. It's the people who are religious and don't adhere to shit the book says. Like, if you look at the New Testament, that shit is so peaceful. That man Jesus is just saying, like, be good.
Chill out.
Love people. Loving's cool. And then every Christian that reads it's like, hate.
Do you know what do you know what I love about these chats, Elijah? Is I was on the internet this weekend issuing the fact that I believe that Cane Hill should be far more in the public conscious than they are. I think your music warrants it. I talk to you, and I love these chats, Elijah, because you're one of the few people I talk to who doesn't give a regard to anything but their own thoughts, listening to the question and telling me what you think about them. You would think that that's pretty fucking straightforward, but like an honest conversation is something that I really appreciate. And forgive the straightforward nature of a question like this. But when you say you moved to here for a year and it was your living nightmare, do you feel like Cane Hill are unwilling to play the game? Because that's got to be part of it, because the music is fucking brilliant, and I refuse to believe that some of the stuff that gets pushed to the fore when put next to Cane Hill, there's a quality gap in my opinion.
So I guess that's a fun question. No one's point blank asked me that question. I was doing an interview with Primordial the other day, and I said something, and I was like, I'm gonna get blacklisted for that. And I genuine concern. I think we're just bad at playing the game. I think we'd probably play the game if we were good at it, but we're just genuinely bad at it. Like, there's been times where like people will come up to me about our guitarist and be like, "Yo, I think James hates me." And I'm like, he fucking might. There's nothing I can do about that. Like, if he doesn't want to make friends with you because you're in a bigger band than him, that's not my problem. So I mean, does the industry hate us? Oh, they don't talk to me about it if they do.
It was more just there's a way of going about things, right? That is bullshit. It's all bullshit, man. It is. You're laughing because you know it, right? It's all bullshit, isn't it? Right? Like, what this should just be about is whose songs are the best. It's as simple as that. Like, it frustrates the piss out of me like it would frustrate someone like you. And I just wondered if that was a shared view.
Yeah, I'm too poor to make my band popular, and I don't know enough people or what'll grease the right pockets to do it, maybe. I think our music's good. I think our music is also rather niche. I think we try to write like hits that anybody would like, but I know that that's just not the case when the content is the content. We named a song "God's the Enemy." Every other song we've released as a single has gotten playlisted. "God's the Enemy" didn't. Can't fucking imagine why. Literally said "killed Jesus." Maybe that's the reason. But then like
didn't stop Cradle of Filth, man.
I know, that's what I was just like, black metal bands get playlisted. Maybe it's a bad song. Maybe our opinions are bad. I don't know.
I hope not. I'm relying on mine to pay the bills, so I fucking hope not.
That's fair. I think your opinion might be better than mine. Mine is, in fairness, biased. I think my music's good.
Yeah, well, I high five you on that, because I do as well. Are we talking full lengths from here, Elijah, or are we going with this route of singles? Because it's been what? This year will be 3 years since there was a last like full length Cane Hill record.
Oh, yeah.
Like, is that a model that's outdated, or am I overlooking it, or am I overthinking it? What's the future for Cane Hill when it comes to putting out music?
I don't think you're overthinking. I think you're aptly thinking. You're thinking about what the music industry's construct is becoming, especially in the middle of a pandemic. I feel like everybody likes to think that this pandemic has been horrible for the music industry. But as far as I'm concerned, for the metalcore industry, it's forced us to keep up with the rest of the industry.
Amen.
Like you've seen it, you know.
Amen.
The metal industry is just album, 2-year cycle of touring on it, album, 2-year cycle of touring on it. No internet marketing, If you get it, it's going to be vague. We just hope people like you when they see you on tour.
Yeah.
Ta-da! Metal.
Yeah.
Enjoy.
Yeah. You're right,
and
man.
instead, it's like, okay, so we can't play shows. So what are we going to do? We're going to put out an album. Our friends just put out an album. People talked about it for a week, and then they shut up. So that seems stupid. So that's eight songs that they don't talk about because they're on an album, and then the 2 singles that they talked about for a week each. Huzzah! Hype. Super hype. Nah. So you put out a bunch of singles. Okay, so the idea was, before the pandemic, we're like, okay, let's put out a single just to hold people over, and then we'll get another label, and we'll go to the studio, and we'll make an album. Yeah. Then the pandemic hit. Labels were like, we're not really going to sign. We're like, okay, and then we're just going to pay for this with a credit card, which is essentially a label that doesn't tell you no, which I love, because I hate being told no for my great ideas. And then you watch other bands take those ideas. What a bummer.
I know, mate. I know.
It hurts the soul. Anyway, so you're in a pandemic. You don't have a label. You got to pay for it all yourself. You want every song you write for people to enjoy. So you say, why would I put out 3 singles and then an album where 8 songs, maybe 20% of the listeners of the singles will listen to them? Because they don't have a video, but damn, they're good songs. And maybe if they had a video, they'd be good. So how do you fix that? You put out small EPs, single EPs, and then you combine EPs into an album. Bada bing, bada boom. Everybody gets what they want. So, like, people who want an album eventually get it, and there will be physicals. There will probably be physicals of each, like, EP that goes into that volume. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's more content.
It's funny, man. Like, I was having this chat, Clang name drop, but I was having this chat with Shadows from Avenged Sevenfold when they were releasing the stage, and they were the first band in our world to venture into the pop-up shop phenomenon, right? Do you remember that when Kanye and Drake and Rihanna and all those sorts of those artists of that era were doing those pop-up shops? And it's inspiring to me to hear that there are artists out there that feel the way that I do. I could fucking jump through the screen and kiss you with every fucking word that you just said, Elijah. And I think that one of the other things that, just if I may ask you about this, because I think it will help bands out there, you do a really good job of dropping a merch range around the release as well. Like, it just feels like a new model of being a band. Like, these timed merch releases and these, like, everything being fully, like, a band doesn't go away this way.
Exactly.
A constant stream.
No downtime. Like, what I liked before COVID, honestly, was when bands released merch lines as, like, seasonal things. So, like, a clothing line would, where you have your spring line, your fall line, your winter line, what have you. I don't think we're very good at that. So I recognize that that's a problem. Like, we're not good at planning a full line and then hoping enough people will buy them. We still just do mostly pre-order stuff. So it's easier for us to do, like, quick, easy pre-order things if like, they're very small batch, very exclusive. It's not making the most money, but it does keep a select few amount of people in really cool, fresh clothes that people, like, vie for when we do drop, because there's only so many. So it also, like, it creates this atmosphere of, like, a hurried rush to make sure you get it in time before they're all gone, which I think adds to the release of the music really well.
And if I may ask as well, final question, I guess, or the final kind of train of thought here is, like, around the time of Smile, it felt like Cane Hill was a name that was on everyone's lips.
Yeah, I remember the good old days.
Hey man, you're writing better music now than you were then, right? And the music back then was good enough.
I'll take it.
My take, the new Jesus should have been a fucking hit single in my opinion. The thing that I look at when I come to all of this is, what is the ambition now for an independently run, free-thinking Cane Hill moving forward? Do you feel like you can capture everyone's, like, imagination, like, on a mass level. Because this song's fucking great, but when you tell me that you're having trouble getting God is the Enemy at radio, it breaks my fucking heart. So what is the future of Cane Hill in that regards?
So as this is our first like DIY release, I see it kind of as a learning experience, and I've had this opinion since before we did it that we'll see how this goes and we'll model the next one off of it. So when we put out Power of the High, I expected that one to do really well. We knew that that was the best song out of the three in our opinion. That riff is really catchy, the chorus is really catchy. Everything built into that was the ideal first song to come back for Cane Hill. And then the next two songs we knew probably wouldn't do as well as it because it wasn't our first heavy release in 3 years, right? So we've taken all of this into account. We understand and are putting our finances in the right places for the right things that we know will do better than others. And then we've hired on a marketing team to tackle the internet flurry of things that you have to do to kind of make it right now. So as we're building and as we're going and as each release comes out, we're taking notes, we're going back, we're seeing what did and didn't work, and we're revising and editing as we go. So there's this understood notion through all of this that it is one massive experiment that could fail or could go on forever, and we're kind of just taking it as it goes. So God is the Enemy not getting radio release was expected, anticipated, and planned for. It is a streaming track with a really good music video and a catchy chorus. And the content we knew wasn't going to be spread wide across the nation, especially being a band in the religious South.
There is that, yeah.
So to me, that one was like the shocker. Kill Me was the fast hit, and Power of the High was the one that gets the most attention and continues to get the most attention. So what we're doing with our next volume is we're going to follow that same model, with a few different tweaks. But I think the first song we're putting out is fucking amazing. If anything's going to radio, it's gonna be that motherfucker. And then the next two songs will be great as well after it, but probably the focus is always gonna be on the first one for the time being. Because the idea is just like when you're putting out an album, you want to put out your fucking hit single that gets everybody interested in the album first. The fucking killer. It gets the attention for radio, it gets the marketing, it gets the push, it gets the blah, blah, yada, blah, blah. Yeah. And then the rest are, please stay interested. Everything after that is, please keep paying attention to us. It's almost time. These songs are also good. So we've just cut out the fluff of each album release. So it's just imagine it's a bunch of album releases. You just never get the full album. You just pay attention to the songs you were going to pay attention to anyway. And there's no filler that you feel guilty for not knowing at the concert later on.
I love it, man. I love it. Elijah, very excited in the future of Cane Hill. The single God is the Enemy is out now. Listen to it, stream it, watch the music video. Your visuals up all the time. So one of the best music videos you've done. The merch drop is fucking brilliant. Love to see it, Elijah. See you soon, man.
Yes. Thank you for having me. Thank you for pushing the streams.